Dad, you've had a lifetime of being able to learn some lessons about life. I want you to talk about what you think you've learned the most from being a cattle farmer.
Well, I grew up on a farm in Mountainburg, Arkansas. We had Hereford cattle back then. And all my brothers had gone to World War II, except one. He went to shipyards. He couldn't pass the exam. But Daddy went all to the shipyards too, and left my mother, and I was the oldest on the farm. I was 12-year-old, and my brother, younger than me, was 9-year-old. So we ran everything at the time, and I was a herdsman. And we had a big bull. Maybe I said that before and told you the story, so I won't tell that again, I guess. But I got a pretty good price out of that bull that was killed with a train, because they didn't. Their job was to maintain the fence on both sides of the tracks. But that was a good experience. And then after I came to university, I got interested in really animal science. I took a lot of animal science courses, genetics and this sort of things, and liked it. And instead of going into coaching, I went into the agriculture field and worked my way through college and had three jobs, but enjoyed and had a best friend in the world that we was friends for years and years, and cancer got him several years ago.
Who was that you're talking about?
Theo Watson. That was my wife's half uncle and her mother's half brother, but we was friends for years and years. But my favorite friend, I guess, was 70. We met at English class, and we was friends till he passed away last year in November. We stayed in contact for 70 long years.
And what was his name?
Howard Samuel Young. He lived in. He had a job with me when I came out of the Army. He worked for Agricultural Extension Service. And we remained friends for all those times.
So you've learned a lot about growing crops like grapes. Tell me something what was a spiritual application or a lesson that you learned, something you learned about God or life from being a grape vineyard grower?
I learned about God, His creation, what He created, I could look around things, the trees and the grass and everything, and actually the human body and all this thing. But nature really took a strike to me. I love mountains and streams, and we had one on our farm at Mountainburg. About a mile and a half went through that farm, and it had all kinds of fish in it. But now, with all the Lake Forest Mill north of it, that stream is almost dry year-round. So that makes me kind of sad to see that pass by. But Granny and I used to go down and fish a lot. We love stream fishing, wading and fishing in streams, She's quite a fishing lady,
But what about the grapes? What did you learn about from?
Well, grapes was a very, very unique thing. You could take one little blossom there and make the prettiest little bunch of grapes you've ever seen out of that one thing. And the best secret was producing grapes. The one that made the crop this year, you took out, cut all that out, and the one that grew that year, that crop made the crop for the following year. So that was a secret of having a good grape crop every year. Get the old wood out, the branches out, and have the new wood to start it. And the new wood that year was next year. So that was interesting, to how the grapes, one vine, how many tons of grapes you could do on an acre. We averaged about 6 tons on our vineyard, which was almost unheard of in this country,
So what all process did you and Granny have to do to get that planted and take care of it through the years?
Well, I got all my plants out of Michigan and had them in here. At first, we first planted them. Then we had dry posts in there, so far apart, big. Then we had put 2 wires up there and made an umbrella type of grapevine, And so about the second year we hand-picked some. They we handpicked them. I sold to local people, had fruit stands and stuff. And the third year we picked them a machine. And every time they go down that one row there was about 100 plants on that one row. And we get about a ton of grapes. And I knew it was going to be a good crop that year. About 6 rows, we made 6 tons. Yeah. And you get your money on sugar content. Anything out of 14% they rejected had to go to the winery, but we never did have any rejection. I almost did one year. She called and said, "Joe, the last load we're getting on the borderline. You might want to wait a little bit." And I said, "It's too late. The next load on its way in there now," but it's passed too.
So you grew for Welch's.
Do Welch's. They're still in business. Now Welch's is owned by grape growers. A lot of people don't know that. Dr. Welch created a way to process that, pasteurize it. When he gave it up, he gave all the growers in New York, Michigan, out west, and Arkansas a chance to buy the company. And so it's owned by farmers.
We drank a lot of purple juice in our years, didn't we?
Oh yeah, you can't beat that.
Anything else you want to tell us about lessons you've learned from, or any stories about cattle or your farming?
Well,
farming?
No, what you had to first thing you had to love this. You had to love farming to really do it. And I always loved cattle. You know, we had it on the farm, and like I say, I took care of them. You know, and I rode the first hay baler, the pickup hay baler. Took 2 guys sitting on the baler. One was putting wire through one side, and I was a tire on the other side.
That's when you were a boy?
That's when I was about 14, 13-year-old. Worked for Uncle every summer doing that. Yeah.
And then you went to round bales, square bales.
Well, went to square bales even on this farm. And then you couldn't get people to haul it. And boy, we went to round bales. People wanted to haul you hay, and I said, "No, I'm doing round bale." I was glad to tell them I didn't need them, because they promised to be here a certain time to haul hay, and they could make good money doing it at that time.
So I know that farming depends on a lot about weather and seasons. What's one thing you've learned about trusting God throughout farming? When it didn't rain or when it rained too much?
When you didn't get any rain in the summertime, hot, you say, "Oh, that." But I learned that's just part of it. You know, that's just nature. You know, and I never did think I'd get too much rain, but I sure get too much this spring. You know, I tell you, we're sitting on highland, and we don't get floods. But Mountainburg, I know what a flood can do, because we had about 2 miles of fence taken out, weighing 10 inches one night, and they wasn't a fence left along that 1.5 miles, you know.
Well, you grew a garden. What was your favorite vegetable to grow in your garden?
Well, I'll tell you, tomatoes, sweet corn would be tied for number 1. Yeah, I enjoyed that.
So tell us, we're sitting on your back porch. Tell us some of your favorite memories that you've spent with family and friends.
Well,
on the porch.
we barbecued a lot, you know. That was the real thing.
Boy, you used to have smoke and
had a smoker outside, and I had a bath in it. You didn't burn the meat, you know. You put it in there, and boy, it was good. Steaks were so good, you know. You never get it. You just get it smoking, and enough water bath in there, it never would burn, you know, just to get smoke.
Did you ever write down your Simco secret sauce recipe?
On which one?
Your secret sauce, Simco's secret barbecue sauce or whatever.
No, we pretty well used our own, you know.
I know, you made your own. Did you ever write down?
Daddy smoked all his meat. And boy, I tell you, he was the best smoker. You can't believe that sausage when he got through smoking, and the bacon, hams. Boy, now he had a smokehouse. He take all that meat and put sugar cure on it, which is salt and brown sugar, and bakes that for about 3 weeks, and then he'd take it, wash it off, hang it up, and then he started smoking. He'd do his chores, and then he'd get the fire started at about 9 o'clock and smoke it during the day. It took about 3 weeks to smoke it. And I tell you, I couldn't hardly get down there on weekends to get me some of that good smoked sausage. But
So that's one thing you learned from your dad?
well, not really. Me and Jenna brought a hog up here, and we killed it, and we set the hair on it, and we had to shave it instead of pulling the hair off. Got the water too hot. So you learn things going along. But Daddy would put that hog in a barrel, and drag it out. He'd take his hand, and kind of pull it, and he knew just exactly. He could just rub that hair off. But boy, if you get too heat, you set that hair and you had to shave it. But he knew what he was doing on that.
Okay, so tell me about some of your other memories with grandkids and great-grandkids and Granny on this porch.
Well, I guess it's one of the favorites. This one right here, over here, Granny, they'd order milkshakes. So Granny would get the flavor they want, chocolate or strawberry or whatever, and makes them all a milkshake. These kids never forgot that, If it wasn't milkshakes, ice cream cones.
Yeah, that was the to-go window over there, wasn't it?
Yeah, laid out on you see that platform out by the window, that's where they'd get up in a chair, where they get it at that time, yeah. That was a favorite along other thing, except visitation, with all you kids and everything. Watch them play in the backyard, hunt lightning bugs, this sort of thing.
Really, nobody ever came to your front door. Everybody always came to this back door.
Yeah, always, yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing. Do you have anything else you want to share for memories or farming lessons?
Pleasant.
Farming lessons on life or memories you want to share?
Well, I tell you, a farmer, you have to love it to make a farmer now. Because a lot of times it's a 7-day job. I was lucky. I don't consider myself a full-time farmer. I had a couple work for me, took care of the 27,000 laying hens we had, but they was the best couple in the world. And when he left after about 15 years, I got rid of it. But he told me it was the best job he ever had. Since I made the most here, I'm going to build me a brand new house. So have it all paid for. But they were, and Joe, back then he went and worked for a poultry company as taking a vaccination crew. And I lost my technician up at university, and he wanted to go back to university and work. He was working their hog farm there just as a laborer when I hired him. And he wanted, I said, yeah, a technician, I'd take you back up there if I get you on. And so I hired him up there to be my technician.
And you're talking about Joe and Connie Stepp.
Joe and Connie Stepp. And Joe, after he retired from university, he went to work for somebody else after I retired. And he got cancer. And I'd go out there and get him sometime and drive him to Springdale to get treatment, radiation. And when he couldn't get anybody to take him several times. And then I went out there one night, and he was in hospice care. And Connie said, I wish hospice would come and take care of him. Said he needed to shave, and I said, well, if you don't mind, I'll shave him. And I did, and he passed away that night. Yeah. You
and Mom were always doing nice things for a lot of people.
Well, yeah,
you gave your time and your money.
Well, Granny was really good helping people. She was, I had so many people said, I don't think I ever heard her say a bad word about anybody. My neighbor here and other people said I said, well, she if she thought it, she didn't express it, And, but she was a jewel of my life. If anybody ever loved a woman any more than I did, I don't know how to stand it. Because I sure did love her. And she raised 2 good daughters, I tell you and Debbie. I wanted daughters, I grew up 6 boys and 1 sister, and she was the oldest. And actually, I didn't know a sister because she was old enough, about gone and married, when I came along. But she was good with her job. during hard times down there, she bought me a nice Boulevard watch for high school graduation. Things like that I wouldn't have got otherwise. And my brother Hayden, I lost World War II. He's a P-38 pilot. And one that's still living, Pete, he was seriously wounded in fighting German in Italy in there. He came back, stoved up, but he's still living. Now, he's 94. Just two of us made it this far, But I had a good life.